Now, Farhan Fronczak, the fabulous Farhan Fronczak, is my good colleague from the United States, and no show is complete without a tour of the US political horizon, especially when there are men in their underpants battering each other in San Francisco. We need to know more. Farhan might know, although she's a quiet living girl. I don't mean to suggest anything else. But Farhan, what can you tell us about the poor Paul Pelosi affair?
You know, George, I swear. First of all, great to be back with you. I'm not even joking when I say this, that 2 weeks ago I was in San Francisco and I passed by Nancy Pelosi's house. I had to make a pit stop to make sure that I passed by her house to see how well she's doing with her $15 pints of ice cream. And there was security out all over her house. Now, she wasn't home, though. So I am having this, call me a conspiracy theorist, but when I was there 2 weeks ago, she was not there. And there were security guards at the black Escalades everywhere. And now all of a sudden, this whole, like you said, these two gentlemen in their underpants fighting in San Francisco, this happens and there's no security. This is the third person in line for the presidency. It's her husband, and there's no one watching her house or anything. So the suspect, David DePape, and I knew it was going to happen right away. I kept saying, when are we going to hear that he was a crazy Trump supporter? And sure enough, George, within 10 minutes, they had his Facebook page up. They were going through all of his extremist posts that he had that were anti-COVID, that were that were, questioning the election, and basically was dubbed a right winger. And now we're finding he actually was a member of the Green Party. So here in DC and especially just in the United States in general, it's business as usual. Everybody pointing fingers. Everybody still hates each other. But again, a lot of people now are asking questions, at least on the right, as to, wow, this happens a little over a week from midterms, when the Republicans are expected to take over the House and possibly win back a Senate majority. It's interesting to say the least, George.
Yeah, fascinating, intoxicatingly so. And of course, Paul Pelosi is a boozer on an industrial scale. There are reports that he had been out that night. That's his business, of course, and who he brought back with him is equally his business, as long as Nancy knew about it. But the notion that a Green Party member who's a nudist attacked Paul Pelosi for right-wing political reasons is a bit far-fetched, to say the least. As Elon Musk put it, there's a little bit of a possibility that there's more to this story than meets the eye. But is anyone looking into it, Farhan?
As of right now, the only outlet that had anything writing on this, conspiracy, it was the Santa Monica Observer, which is a little town outside of LA, or not little, but, compared to LA, a little suburb outside of LA. And already this outlet is being known, or is being, kind of talked about how it pushes fake conspiracy movements, how it reported that Hillary Clinton was dead the week before she ran for election, and that they had a body double. I mean, this is the kind of things that we always see, George, and that you and I covered it during our time at RT America, where it was, God forbid somebody starts asking questions, all of a sudden they're dubbed a conspiracy theorist. Immediately after this happens, everybody is expected to say that Paul Pelosi, this poor guy, oh my goodness, thoughts and prayers, what have you. And mind you, it was weeks ago that Paul Pelosi was picked up for a DUI and cocaine possession. So what better way to turn a villain into a hero out of this story? But it's people have selective memory. If this was one of Trump's kids, it would have been, well, see, look, they deserved it. It's all their rhetoric. But when it's Paul Pelosi, it's this poor 82-year-old man who said, excuse me, before you attack me, can I use the bathroom? I mean, none of it makes sense. And a lot of people are looking at this, and now the fact that Elon Musk tweets it out, Now, God forbid if you agree with it, everyone's going to look at you as a conspiracy theorist. No, we have questions about it,
Yeah.
and we have the right to ask questions, George. We know this.
For sure. And of course, Pelosi's daughter rejoiced when Rand Paul's neighbor physically assaulted him. And the reason I'm wearing a hat, Farron, is because somebody quite seriously assaulted me. And none of the Liberals shed a tear or even published a report about it.
Nor would you expect them to.
Double standards, isn't it?
Yeah, nor would you expect them to, because you're the one that stoked the fire. You're the one that, fanned the flames, and it's all your fault. But when it's anybody else, it's, oh my goodness, look at what, I mean, even CNN yesterday, they're bringing in all of these, Republican congressmen to talk about the midterms, and then all of a sudden shift their focus on Paul Pelosi. And, one of the congressmen yesterday from Tennessee was like, yeah, it's a shame what happened. And automatically the anchor is grilling him. Well, don't you think it's because of your rhetoric? It's your rhetoric. And he's like, wait, I thought we were talking about the midterms, and now I have to stump for Paul Pelosi, who was driving drunk weeks ago, and then again picked up for cocaine. What kind of crazy circus are we living in, where now we have to defend these people just because they get attacked? It wasn't also too long ago, George, that there were death threats and there were people mobilized outside of Justice Brett Kavanaugh's house, and it was, well, look, they overturned Roe v. Wade, so that's what you get. I mean, it's preposterous when you think about how it's okay on one side, but on the other, it's well, you kind of brought it upon yourself, didn't you?
They're not blaming the Russians yet, are they?
No, we have nothing with the Russians yet. No, everything is very hyper local as far as politics right now. The only thing that I will say that's getting traction is many asking, as far as with the Democrats and Republicans, of where Israel is going to stand in all of this, especially with Iran and Russia now, and lots of pressure building up on where should Israel stand by certain congressmen and senators. But right now, Paul Pelosi is front page center news.
Not the diesel that is running out fast in your country, and which in a matter of days will no longer be available, grounding every truck in the country. What's going to be done about that?
You know what? You'd have to ask our president, who was too busy voting yesterday with his granddaughter, showing how voting is just very important in this country. And mind you, yes, it is. But that's the other thing that's very interesting of the timing of this Paul Pelosi attack. And again, if this is what it is, heart, thoughts, and prayers, as they all say that we should say. But the fact that there is no idea of what's going to happen when diesel fuel runs out, the fact that we've just blown through our reserves when these were supposed to be saved for a rainy day, or saved for actual times of emergency, not just for a rainy day when you don't want to deal with Saudi Arabia and go begging on Venezuela's door again. So it's one of these things, George, where these people have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what's next on the list to tackle and take care of. One of the things I always used to have on my show, Daniel McAdams, who was the chief of staff for Ron Paul. And it's a story that still sticks to me this day. And he said that the first day that Ron got in there, they went to a House Armed Services Committee, and Ron comes in with all these binders, and he wants to talk about, let's tackle this. And this is the early 90s. They sit down and he starts talking, and he's like, well, how about we do this? And they're just like, no, Ron, we just, this is we hang out here. Come on. And he said that he looked over at him and he looked so defeated. And it's yeah, that's what we do. We get elected and then we just chill. And we Netflix and chill the rest of the time. And that's kind of, where we're at right now. We have all of these problems coming down the pipeline, no pun intended. And no, Paul Pelosi, though. Paul Pelosi. Well, how does Paul Pelosi help me and the truck drivers?
There must be a limit to all of that. And maybe that limit will come a week on Thursday. What's your current thinking of how the midterm elections are going to go?
All last week I covered the debates between, for example, Mehmet Oz and John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, where everyone was really worried about him, saying that he had suffered a stroke recently. Not a good idea to have him go out and debate. I understand the reasons why he did to show that he is fit to serve, but it kind of worked against him more than it worked in his favor. You also had the New York gubernatorial debate. I mean, these debates are spicy, George, and they were so much fun to stream live and watch. And it's really given Republicans that last bit of oomph that they've needed to get them over the hump, as far as definitely taking over the House, but possibly taking over the Senate. And one of the things that you even saw if you watch the New York gubernatorial debate is Kathy Hochul, who is the incumbent, who came in after Andrew Cuomo resigned. Everything is just pointed to, look at, he's a big Trump supporter. He's a Trump supporter, pointing at former Congressman Lee Zeldin. And he's like, hey, I got the economy that you're not working on. I got gas prices. I got inflation. I got schools. Like, I got all these bullet points here. And all you're saying is I like Trump. So that's where I think a lot of voters are seeing the great divide of where they can sit and point fingers and say, oh, we were served a bad plate of food from Trump, and we have to sit and eat it. Well, how are you going to fix it? And they offer no solutions. And the same also does go for Republicans. They can point their fingers over and over. They really don't show much solution. However, they're able to point and say, look what you've messed up. And then as far as like with voting and other states around the country that are these big time battleground states, they have Biden in the basement, just like 2016, but they have Obama out there. They have Kamala Harris out there, which her approval ratings, why? Dr. Jill Biden's out there. You have all of these Democratic, the loved ones that they love. And they have Biden in the basement. They're not having him go out really and campaign that much, because the thing is just pay no attention to him. He's off working. He's in the basement, and it's like a repeat of 2020. Where he's not out there.
He's the embarrassing old relative that we will all one day be. Is usually kept up in the attic, but when brought down, serves only to embarrass, needing their nose wiped at all times. Just finally, if of course the Democrats lose the House, then Nancy Pelosi will have to be spending a lot more time with poor Paul Pelosi because she'll no longer be in charge. I don't know if that's good news for either of them, but it is a necessary consequence of the Democrats' defeat. Who will lead the House if the Democrats lose? And if they lose both, who will be basically in charge of the new political power? It won't be Trump. He won't have elected office. So who will it be, and what will their attitude to Trump be?
In the Senate, obviously, it would go probably back to Senator Mitch McConnell, who right now is the minority leader. In the House, I'm saying it would go to Kevin McCarthy, who is the House minority leader. He is the one that is looked to upon for a number of different things. One being how is Trump going to take the news, or how does the leader of the Republican Party feel about certain issues, whether people love Trump or not. You see, when everything went down with Trump as far as the FBI raid and whatnot, every single Republican immediately came forward and showed their backing of Trump and saying, this, I can't believe this is happening. And then as the days went on, then you saw the ripple of, kind of the fringe ones start to, distance themselves from Trump again. But immediately the fact that even from all the way from Mitch McConnell, all the way to some of the senators that even, were very much against Trump, like Mitt Romney coming out and saying, what's going on? Why is a former president getting raided by the FBI? Just goes to show who the leader of the Republican Party still is. But I definitely think it's going to be Kevin McCarthy for the House. As far as who's going to lead, it's very much probably going to be kind of a Mitch McConnell v. Trump that we saw very much when Trump was president. And I think Kevin McCarthy might be that, the glue that kind of tries to keep everybody together, and also maybe like the cushion between the two, because we've all seen that McConnell and Trump were very much against each other on a number of different things. And, Trump, while he likes to remain very stubborn, Kevin McCarthy was kind of able to finagle with him and kind of give him some cushion and say, hey, maybe he was able to kind of, budge him, to one side or the other. He had a very good art of doing that with Trump. And I think that's where, Trump will be the head of the party, but Kevin McCarthy, I think, will be the neck in showing which way Trump should be looking, if that makes sense.
Will Trump be back on Twitter next week, as he claims?
He says that he's not going to come back to the platform, but that was when Elon Musk was just talking about taking over Twitter. Do I think he comes back? Hell yeah. I think he's going to come back. I mean, why would he not? It's redemption,
exactly.
redemption
and
tour.
Why wouldn't Musk bring him back? Yeah,
exactly.
Why wouldn't Musk bring him back? Although I see Musk has got even more followers on Twitter than Donald Trump ever had. But then he's in a position just to add followers. I don't know. Maybe he's algorithmically massaged his figures.
We'll see.
Talking of massage, give my best to Paul Pelosi if you make a pit stop there again.
I will send your thoughts and prayers.
Joining us.
Thanks, George.
Please do. Farhan Fronczak, far unbalanced.